Hello again. It was a long day. Of course, watching films, it's not easy, and also having such interesting discussion with film professionals. But now we will still have a discussion between me, Andrew Mosen, the curator from Egypt for Film O'Clock, and Cristi Mărculescu, our festival friend, the Romanian film critic. And the discussion will be, of course, regarding The Oak by Lucian Pintilie, which was screened now on Festival Scope. Hope you enjoy it. We also have a little surprise, let's say, a little introduction from one member of the crew from the production side. It is a phone call registered, and now we will share with you, and then we will continue the discussion.
Bună seara! Mulțumesc frumos de posibilitatea de a intra în legătură cu voi. Mă numesc Doina Torcătoru, am lucrat în echipa de producție a filmului Balanța. Vă mărturisesc că întâlnirea mea cu maestrul Lucian Pintilie a avut un impact major, cu toate că lucram de aproape 20 de ani în producția de film. Și da, dacă mă întrebați, am simțit din prima zi că acest film va fi o capodoperă a filmului românesc și nu numai. A fost și foarte greu, dar și extrem de frumos și intens. Îmi amintesc de un moment dificil din timpul unei filmări de noapte, cea cu elicopterele și manevrele militare. Eram la Poiana Brașov, în munți. Filmarea a fost dificilă, dar până la urmă reușită. Foloseam un elicopter Puma de la Gimbav. După filmare, acesta urma să se reîntoarcă la bază. Echipa a început să strângă cablurile și să stingă luminile. Elicopterul plecase. Atunci însă am primit un apel disperat de la pilot: nu stingeți luminile, la Gimbav este ceață și nu pot ateriza. Va trebui să mă reîntorc pe platoul de filmare, altfel rămân în aer. Am reaprins cu greu luminile. Pilotul a revenit cu bine. Am respirat ușurați, dar emoția a fost extremă. Cât îl privește pe maestrul Lucian Pintilie, vă pot spune că am lucrat cu un titan, cu un perfecționist prin excelență, cerând prin asta întregii echipe dăruire totală. Sunt mândră și recunoscătoare pentru darul pe care viața mi l-a oferit. Revăd cu maximă plăcere fiecare secvență, fiecare cadru din film și sper ca și voi, cei care îl urmăriți în seara aceasta, să simțiți atingerea unui geniu. Mulțumesc, maestre Pintilie, mulțumesc Mirona Radu și vouă, tuturor celor prezenți la acest festival. Mult succes vă doresc!
Yeah, it's good also to have a sort of memory, let's say, about the shooting. And just one thing, not to forget to thank to Filmex Film and to MK2 for their support in for this festival and yeah, for the screening copy. Thank you. And now let's start the discussion, because I think it's quite interesting to put in the light the first feature of Lucian Pintilie post-communism. So Cristi, I hand over to you.
Well, I would take over, but I'm very curious how Andrew sees this film and how he thinks about it. Because our perspective is very local. We know about Pintilie. The recent 4K restoration for the film put again a spotlight on it in very recent past, like 1 year, 1 year and a half. So, Andrew, what do you think of The Oak?
As I told you a few seconds ago before we go live, I like this film simply. it's one of the films that you feel that it deals with a very sensitive topic, but without the ordinary perspective or usual perspective. It's not dealing with the history itself. It's not taking, from what I felt, of course, you know better, but from what I felt, it's not about the revolution that just we need to focus on what happened, but how people felt and dealt with this situation, how different people dealt with each other, how this impacted the different characters. And I feel this somehow gives a different taste, and this is which lasts for more time. Sometimes when I see a film about a historic event, revolutions or wars or something like this, it's okay, you know, a good information about these events, but the unique directors knows how to deal differently with these events or these big events in the history. How he can sometimes put us in a very comic situations inside something like war and people are killed. Maybe sometimes this is not the best way to deal with something like this, but I felt that you need to know that inside that revolution, people feel with many and different emotions. It's not that one thing and the director wants to tell you that this is what happened. No, actually, and I think it was just 2 or 3 years just after the revolution. It didn't take a long time, which is sometimes not enough time to write and produce a film about a revolution, because after a few years you're still inside the impact of what happened and you're still in the changing phase. But I felt that he knew how to deal with different topics, and he chose the characters very wisely. And I like it how he dealt with the time. The time is very loose in this film. He just jumps and you can feel how it impacted on the characters. Somehow, I don't know if you agree with me in this, but somehow I felt it's like one of Emir Kusturica's films. This somehow magical realism, especially in that night scene which the line producer was talking about, and when the soldiers came from the helicopter, and you don't know if this real war or they're going to shoot them, and then in the next scene they are sitting and talking. What is this about? This is the core of the film, that it's about these characters, how inside the real events they didn't know how to deal with each other, and that's why I like this film very much.
It's interesting you point to Kusturica, because for us Romanians, it was not perceived as that mixture in between drama and humor.
Okay.
And when it launched, it was pretty well received. On the other hand, you know, Pintilie started something that kept going on for the entire decade, for the 90s. It's this, let's say, discontent for his fellow citizens of Romania. And actually, his perspective is right, because some of the things he points are actually realistic. The sequences with all the army and that actually existed. It's not fantasy. It's not strictly related to a part of the revolution. It is something that happened in Romania when the communist regime was still on in the 80s. Some exasperated people tried to actually hold up a bus and get away with it. That's an incident that is very, very unknown. I didn't know about it. Recently, when I did some studying about this film, I learned that that happened actually somewhere in the mountains nearby Brașov, if I remember correctly. And this is also a very interesting choice for the first Romanian feature to get a proper 4K restoration. Because somehow when you think about restoration, you are tempted to go towards the 60s or 40s or 30s, even silent films. As you remember, Bogdan Movileanu said in the other talk, right now we are working to have the first silent Romanian films restored. And this comes as a surprise. And also, I don't know, maybe Mirona has a different perspective about it, but for me, this is a time capsule. It's the Romanian 90s. As you said, people who did not know what the hell to do and how the hell to interact with one another. I would say things didn't change that much in the meanwhile, but I'm curious if Mirona feels it more actual or more as a time capsule.
Yeah, it's interesting that we didn't talk before, so about this actually. Even if I knew what you say, but about this perspective, and yeah, I don't see like you. I see more like very actual, actually. Yeah, but I don't think, maybe it's more about the way how he deals with the narrative and with the time in the film. So that's why I feel being very actual. I don't know if it's so it's more from his approach than to other.
I know what you're saying. It's the fact that generally things didn't change that much. This tone that is very, very moralistic and very looking down on the rest of society without giving, you know, not comic relief, because we don't want comic relief from art films. But
no, but we need hope, and in this kind of films we don't have this light. You know,
that's the point. It's not just hope; it's something positive, or it's even as far-fetched as it goes. It can be some solutions or some idealism. And this current of doing films was overwhelming in the 90s. All the big Romanian directors, except for Nicolaescu, who were established before the revolution, did this kind of films where all the characters were hysterical, idiots, and working badly in human relations one with another. And we have this thing perpetuating. If you see Radu Jude's films, and some might say this about Cristipuiu's films, it's a high force perspective that Pintilie had this thing. He perfectly understood the characters. I'm very surprised because Pintilie was out of Romania for the last part of communism, I think for like 10 years or even more. And the problems he took from a Romanian novel by Ioan Băieșu were still actual, and he could identify with them as a reason for him choosing to go abroad. And he could identify them as problems in the early 90s. And why I use time capsule is because the topics and let's say the inventory, the objects, the ideas are very, very 90s. I mean, you have this protagonist. She's the daughter of a former communist important person. And we're still dealing with this. Who was somebody's father or mother? Did they work with the communists? We're still dealing with this. Then it's all this, I think this is just me reading into it, but we as Romanians have a very, very twisted relationship with the medical professions. I mean, there's always something that is wrong about this relation that a patient has with the doctor. I'm not talking improper or abusive behavior, but sometimes you get the feeling that starting with Mere Roșu, which is back in the 70s, and going through The Oak and to Child's Pose, who won the Berlinale some 10 years ago, I think, it's this obsession. How do we relate to doctors? Are they positive figures? Are they some sort of superior caste? Because one of the things you can read in The Oak is that it's a love story in between two people from the upper caste of Romania. and how all their connationals, being horrible and subhuman people, their love cannot flourish. It's a very cynical perspective, but it is in a way or another a love story. And what you see in her way of not feeling in place in a world where her father is dead, communism is kaput, and she represents not much, is very similar to his way of dealing with his reality, because he's a doctor, and doctors are like intellectuals and very esteemed because we always had a bad hospital system. And he gets sent to one pathetic small town in the middle of nowhere. And he basically hates everybody there. On the other hand, intellectually and humanly and in any way, you can understand their feelings. And this is the thing that Pintilia did wonderfully. His characters might be just wrong or completely wrong or not likable or barely bearable, but they function as a human being. And this thing is what he actually did better than his colleagues from the Romanian communist cinema in the 90s. No matter how you feel about it, it has more truth to it than anything Danieliuc did after the revolution. And by truth, I just mean writing credible characters with a very, very complex and sometimes not at all humane way of interacting with the others. It's also interesting. You go.
Sorry, no, but I wanted to say that it's interesting that you said about the others directors, that these kinds of characters that Romanian film directors used to have, that not likable, not characters, not like easy to like, or but in his case, he also put a sort of magic. I don't know. This can be like a sort of magical. What you say? What you said, Andrew, about the style of the. Yes. Because it's something more put on this. You have this kind of characters, you have the complex, and I really think we can resonate more with this kind of people who are more human, to be mean and bad, not to be the perfect man, the perfect woman. So I think we can resonate more, but it's something more added, and this is the Pintilia style. I mean, I am a fan of Pintilia's film, so that's why I really I wanted to put in the pre-selection that I made for Romania, also one of his films.
It's also interesting because what I was starting to say, interrupting you, sorry for that, is that this film comes in between a very, very sweet film about kids on the seaside, The Girl and the Bird from Lithuania, which was yesterday, and in between another film before the Greek film From Tomorrow, which is Day Off. And somehow it's very interesting because Day Off takes some of unlikable but wonderfully written characters thing. What Pintilia does is present all the, let's say, weird and terrible things that were happening in Romania that were creating a general sensation of numbness, like an overflow of bad things and small incidents. And it's very interesting because it's Baroque. In a way or another, the whole edifice of the things happening is very complex. They're happening all over the place. It can be on the train. And on the train, by the way, that's so nice to see the young Gheorghe Visu. Also in the train station, in the hospital, everywhere, there are so many things happening. This is like actually taking very much facts and actions from the novel and putting them in a film. I don't know if somebody presented with this novel, Romanian or foreign director or a screenwriter, would choose to have that much influx of things happening. This is something Romania did in the 90s. Too many things happening in one film. It's like this crowded, informational, emotional, and script-wise chain of events that was happening all over the place. Do you think I'm a bit
very different nowadays, which is very different nowadays in the Romanian films.
Yeah, we gave this up, but we did this intensively in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that all this information that comes at us maintains our fascination with the film, or is it just some sort of numbing our perception because there's so many things happening? And as somebody who sees this film, you can react in many ways, but the basic ways are you just feel confused or you just extra focus to be able to follow the characters. How did you react to it?
No, actually, I felt I need to be extra focused on this film because, especially relating to what we have been saying about the time and that it jumps sometimes few months quickly between a scene and another. So you need to be focused to understand what happened from the dialogue and from the character, how she deals with everything around her. But I feel it's on the other hand, it's something good because somehow, even if you don't know many information, many details about the historical events which happened in these years, I think the film shed a good light inside its scenes about what happened. So it's not a kind of the films that you need to read before you watch it to be ready to what's going to happen. I sometimes feel that these films like puts a barrier between the audience. It's not that type of the films. Even if you don't know a huge information about what happened, you will start to understand from the characters from what happening how the situation was in these days. And maybe he didn't want to put a statement because, as we were saying, there is different types of characters, and there is different perspectives from the characters themselves to what's happening. And I want to add something about what you were saying about the doctors and choosing doctor, especially because I feel that for the doctors, there is this ethical, I don't know how to say it, dilemma or something, that you're a doctor, you have to deal with injured people wherever they are coming from. They are of your side or not your side. And I think it's sometimes very hard to deal with this situation, especially in wars, for example. If you are going to deal with a soldier from the other country, so I feel that the doctors have an extra mile they have to cross during these hard situations. It's not just they can stand behind their beliefs and take the way till its end. They have sometimes to take hard decisions. So I think that the doctor character inside the situations we have seen in the film was good enough to shed light on different perspectives and different characters. Especially he was always in the middle.
Yeah, that is also one very, very entitled character. And most of the Romanian lecture about doctors in films takes this almost caste thing, like in India. There are some that are in the upper caste and some that are in the middle and some down. And doctors are always up, or at least they behave all the time as they're up. And this is something that I think Pintelia is working with a very, very interesting, I don't know if dilemma or approach, but let's use approach. This guy can do good, but he's also a bit of an asshole. Even more than a bit of an asshole, but yeah, he's doing that. Mirona, do you like our relationship with doctors in Romanian films?
No, but I liked what Andrew said about this dilemma, because I think the doctors actually, as characters, they are more easy to be tortured with dilemmas, because it's you have a point when they have to decide or they have to do something and maybe they can't. So in this regard, I think they are good tools for the script writing. But I don't know if this is the this is why the doctors are chosen to be characters. But yeah, I like the fact that they could deal with dilemmas. Yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, yeah, we have a lot of things for me now, like the Romanian cinema. It's not. It's under the wave, I could say. I wait for new approaches, new challenges from the directors, because yeah, I think the Egyptians are now on the wave. So Andrew, you are
With long features.
yeah, and not only, also good shorts.
Andrew?
Yeah, I believe we are on the way for the good shorts now. Maybe later, hopefully in the features also, but in the shorts I can assure, especially the last year and this year.
So basically, should we wait for some future feature films from Egypt in the next years? Something you know about?
Yes, there is many, but as you know, you can't say anything for sure because everything is going to postponed because of the coronavirus. Actually, we had one good film, and it was selected in Cannes last year, and now it's going to be premiered in the Panorama, also online in Berlinale. And there is another film which is hopefully make its way in Cannes by Mohamed Diab, who directed Clash. It was premiered in Uncertain Regard 3 years ago. So I think this year maybe have good titles, but hopefully coronavirus have mercy on us and give us some opportunity to screen these films.
Wow.
I don't know, maybe we lost Christy, but Andrew, you are here. No, you are still with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's here also.
Because there is a question regarding the magical realism that you talked about before, and about is there a drop of theatricality in this film, The Oak, in your opinion? I don't see very well. It's in the chat, the question.
Well, we are still too connected to the theater way of acting as a national cinema. This does not happen in all of Romanian films, but for most actors, the theater is the principal occupation they have. So the acting for a stage is radically different from the film acting. And some of the things don't get, put aside when the actor does a film. And this is one of the topics that Romanians always avoided, because you can say that acting is bad in theater. So they choose to avoid the question. But the question is very legitimate, because theater acting is not bad in theater, but it can sometimes function badly in a film. And especially our 90s films have this imprint of actors doing theater-like acting. And the question was for you if you feel that this happened in The Oak.
For me?
Yes, it was a question for you. Because you're the guy who saw the film with, let's say, a new perspective.
I felt this in certain scenes, like and from different from specific characters. But for example, for the main protagonist, Maya, I didn't feel like she's acting in a theoretical way. But maybe in the comedy scenes, I felt something like this. But it wasn't something like bad, because I understand sometimes we say that this is theoretical acting related to something like exaggerating in the executions. No, it wasn't like this. It felt like this is how the situation and the scene needs to be done in this way. It's the director who told them to do this, not they are doing this in bad way.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, no, I have very bad internet connection today. Sorry. It's something that we avoided in recent films and in festival films sometimes. Sometimes we are very, very, very keen on seeing actors act as they do in theater. And it is a difficult situation for a conversation in Romania about this. But it's strange because the question included something that actually suggested it might diminish or cause that thing you said about magic realism, surrealism. On the other hand, I don't think it's connected, because that feeling, as far as I can explain it, but you'll have your opinion too on it, of course, is because we come from this Balkan area of culture where sometimes people do exaggerate things and sometimes weird things just happen, like in Greek films. And do you think it created more magic realism or it diminished it? The acting, just the acting.
Just the acting. No, I think it was it put me closer to what I thought about the magical realism. I always come back to the same scene because it was the one which I liked much, the night scene with the army, because in a typical situation in a real life, this wasn't this won't be how the army will deal with some people. They I don't know, maybe they will shoot them, they will raise an alarm for them, something like this, but it's not going to be something funny like this. And they was doing this in a comic way, but in the same time that it was real, like they have orders to do this with the people, and that I felt like these are these real characters. So that's how I was talking about magical realism, that these are comic army men, but acting like they are in a real life. So that's how I felt. So I felt the acting was in that atmosphere of this scene.
I totally agree with you, Andrew, in my opinion, and I think the good performances are not linked. I mean, are separate things to this magical realism. So yeah, and in this particular sequence, I must confess I felt more Fellini style than Kusturica, for instance. Mm-hmm. It's, yeah. It's my own opinion, so please don't judge me. I will. I think we discussed the context and also just some part, because about Lucian Pintilie we could talk a lot, but tomorrow is a new day, so another collection of short films wait for us at 6 o'clock in the evening on Festival Scope. If you missed the second collection of short films and you watched our discussions with the filmmakers and you might want to see the films, they are available on Festival Scope since 4 in the afternoon tomorrow. And of course, we wait for you at the discussions. We will have, after the feature day off, the Greek feature, the film director here with us, Vasilis Vafeas. So it will be for sure an interesting discussion with him. Okay, so thank you so much. And if you want, you can join in 10 minutes the national cocktails with focus on Romania. More details on our Facebook page. Thank you and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you.